Welcome. My name is Andrea Sampson, and I'm the CEO and founder of Talk Boutique and the Thought Leader Academy. Let me tell you a funny story, and this is absolutely true. A little while back, I was traveling to the US. The work that I do as a speaker's coach and working with thought leaders, I work with people all over the world. And so I find myself in airports all over the world. And on this particular day, I was traveling from Canada to the US. And, we all have those moments waiting in line to see the customs agent where we're nervous about, are we going to get asked something we don't have an answer to? Or is something wrong with my visa? Or did I forget something? And so there I was standing in line waiting for the customs agent. And I'm looking around. And of course, there are several customs agents. And in looking around, I see the one who's scowling the most. And, I'm thinking, oh God, don't let it be him. Don't let it be him. And then, of course, what happens is I'm standing now in front of the scowly customs agent. And in looking, I hand him my passport and he flips through the pages and he's looking down very stern. And then he looks up at me and asks me where I'm going. And I tell him where I'm going. And then he looks down again and he says, "What do you do for a living?" And I say, "Well, I'm a speaker's coach." And he looks down and then he looks back up, scowling, not any nicer than he was 3 seconds before. And he says to me in that same stern look and voice, "I present all the time and I don't know what to do with my hands." So there I found myself in front of the customs agent giving him a lesson on what to do with his hands when he's presenting. Because, the thing that I get asked a lot, I mean, this is, like I said, true story, even with a customs agent, is body language. What is your body saying that maybe your words aren't conveying? I had the very good fortune many years ago to coach one of the world's foremost experts in the world on body language, Mark Bowden. And Mark is an absolute genius at this. He's written many books, and I learned a lot from him. And one of the things that he taught me was about how our brains process body language. And what he says is that, it all goes back to that primitive part of our brain stem, and that predates even us as humans. It goes back to that primordial goo almost 500 million years ago. But that part of ourselves, the brain stem, is where our autonomic reactions come from. It's where, automatically we're seeing things and it is meant to keep us alive. And you know what? It's done a pretty good job over these last 500 million years. So that part of our brain is always looking for four things. Now, what do you think those four things are? Well, I'll tell you. So the first is, can it eat me? It's always looking for predators. It's looking around and going, is there danger here? The next thing it's looking for is, can I eat it? Because as humans, we need to stay alive and we need food to do that. The third thing it's looking for is, can I mate with it? We are driven by procreation as a species. And so it's always looking for a mate. And then the fourth thing that it's looking for, if none of those are true, is it part of my tribe? Is it a friend? Are they just like me and therefore no threat? Now, if one of those four things are true, our brain stem, the reptilian brain that's called many different things, calms down or reacts depending on what it's seeing. But if it doesn't see any of those four things as it looks out into the vast room around it, it ignores it. It ignores everything. Where do we want to be as speakers at the front of a room? Which one of those five things do we want our primitive brain to be seeing, or the primitive brains of our audience, I should say? So what I would suggest is that you want to show up as part of their tribe, as a friend. And you want that because people trust you. And this is where hands come in. So we're getting back to body language now. See, your hands convey to the audience different things depending on where they are with your body. And I'll tell you 3 different places that are really helpful when we're trying to convey our thought leadership from the stage. So the first one, the most important one, if you remember nothing else, I want you to remember this. keeping our hands right here, and you can't really see them just because of the way that uh, the way that the camera is positioned right now. But if you keep your hands right at your belly button level, with your elbows just floated out slightly from your body and your shoulders just dropped a little bit, and your elbows bent and your hands open, what we're doing is we're creating a way for the audience to see that we're not hiding anything. You see, our belly, when we expose our belly to an audience full of people, what we're saying to that audience is, I trust you enough to show, to bear the most vulnerable part of myself. It's where all my organs live. And so if you were a predator, that's the place that you would go for first. So I'm showing you that I can be trusted because I'm showing you my belly. I trust you. And when I trust you, you trust me. There's a sense of relaxation that comes with it. And when we have our arms really sort of just floating away from our body and our hands open, almost as if we're holding two basketballs, what we're showing is no tools, no tools, no weapons. So our hands are sort of in this shape that allows the audience to see no tools, no weapons. You've got my belly is exposed to you. You can trust me, and therefore I will trust you. And we are all in the same conversation. Now, if I drop my hands down beside my sides and just have them hanging loosely, what am I saying? What I'm saying to the audience then is nothing to see here. I'm not interesting. Don't look at me. In fact, what I'm actually doing with my hands, and right now my hands are down by my side. And I want you to notice how less interesting I've become, even though I have done nothing more than just drop my hands. Now I've become less interesting because I'm not actually using my gestures. I'm hiding. I'm hiding in plain sight in front of you. And as soon as all I do is bring my hands back up, do you see how interesting I just got? It's such an interesting way of seeing the world. So now, do you use your hands down by your sides? Yes, from time to time, we want to be able to use that gesture as a way to show the audience that we're not worried about something. Maybe we're giving bad news that we has passed. We might drop our hands by our sides to say, "Don't worry about that. It's all okay," and then come back and tell you why it's all okay. And then the third place I want you to think about is right here at your heart. We as thought leaders use this when we are storytelling, when we are showing up with something that's emotional, that we have conviction for, that we are passionate about. And when we stay here in our heart, what we're doing is we're bringing the audience into the emotion of what we're saying. But we don't want to stay here, because what happens is we stay at the heart level, that our audience starts to believe that we're all emotion and no fact. And so we want to move through these different ways of showing our body language. Now, those are just three ways that our bodies convey our own belief in what we're saying. And when we're out of alignment with what we're saying by the body language we're showing, we lose credibility with our audience. And this is part of how we show up in congruence with what we're saying, or as somebody who's maybe more of an expert who's all about fact, or somebody who's more of a change maker who's maybe all about emotion. See, thought leaders convey these things seamlessly. They don't live in one or the other, they live in both at the same time. And these are the personal brands that we convey. And I'd love it. I'd love to work with you on your personal brand, helping you to understand how to use your body, how to use your words, and how to get them to seamlessly come together so that your audience is seeing you as the thought leader you actually are.